Welcome back to part 2. Now we have to put the robot to the test. Can it handle my steep terrain or not? We will see in a very bit. And I can guarantee you there are a lot of surprises never seen before on YouTube. So stay tuned until the end. The robot is now mowing in a little bit of bigger grass. And as you can see, it follows the perimeter very well actually. That's a setting in the app where you can say it should offset or not. Let's see how it handles this. Looks a bit stuck here. Oh dear. Yeah, it looks like this ramp is a bit too much. I guess it will very shortly fail with an internal error.
Slipping detected. Please move the robot to a different spot.
Yeah, that might be because I put the mowing height now quite far down because there's not so much grass to mow. Let me move the robot. Here you can see, yes, it's cutting. Again, the cutting height is now set to 7 centimeters. I think if you have longer grass, you need 2 passes to have a clean result. But as you can see, the robot follows very precisely my boundary. And we will just let it work a little bit and see what the result is. So here we see the Lymow tackling a quite steep bit with longer grass, and I have to say, at least from a bit further away, it looks very nice. And as I noted before, I think it's much better to have the robot going horizontally or left to right on the hill, because these vertical turns, if I may call them like that, I think that's really not the best solution. It can handle it, but it struggles a bit with that. Oops, what happens here? So as you can see, the robot tried to drive down this quite steep ridge and then continue mowing there, and essentially toppled over to the front. And also before, the robot got stuck quite often, so the turning strategies and what happens if the chain slips, that can really be improved. So I will agree that my map layout is not the best, but as you can see, especially in these cases where the robot now wants to turn into a hill, it just doesn't work.
Slipping detected. Please move the robot to a different spot.
And the problem now is that I have to go manually into the app and clear that error. So this is no autonomous mowing here. Now maybe it tries to continue in the easier parts, because otherwise you can see those traction wheels, they really do a good job. Yeah, now it continues the long run here. Yeah, I think really I have to be much more careful with the map layout. Here again, a very similar error. I think the turning strategy of this machine has to be improved. The robots tried to turn here, and as you can see, so it was vertical up, and then the chains essentially slipped, the track slipped, then it drives down a bit and stops with an internal error. Instead of just trying it again, I have to go again into the app and have to manually clear that error and start mowing. So with the Lymow mowing here behind me and failing constantly because it's slipping and not resuming autonomously, I will leave you to it. The robots, it has a very solid impression, do not get me wrong. I think all those errors that we here observed are totally fixable by very easy software updates. What does he have now? One more thing that I just noticed when the robot returned home is that it actually said that it's charging, but the station indicator is not moving, and the LEDs, what that blinking means, I do not know. According to the app, it is not charging, and also according to the smart switch that I have in between the socket and the power adapter, it is not charging. So right now the Lymow would discharge itself, and that's it. So let's see what the robot does now. I moved it back manually out of the station. Now I see the very fine positioning here to correctly go onto the charging station, which normally worked. Nothing. You're not correctly on, mate. Why don't you just go back and try that again? Because obviously this is another fail to go back to the charging station. But I'm really unfair to this device. It actually now went back by itself. That's great. Didn't shout at me with an error, and tries this whole procedure again. This looks more centered now. Oh, I briefly saw a charging indicator contact. Now, yeah, if it pushes forward, it works, but it doesn't. Let me observe this a little further. The Lymow is now really struggling. I have the feeling that when it approaches the docking station, now the wheels are lifting the robot up too much, and maybe the camera loses vision with the these QR code-like thingies. So I might need to build a smoother ramp here for the robot to drive in. That's my theory at the moment. I let it try a bit more. So I'm watching this misery now for, let's say, almost 5 minutes. You know, the robot, when it slips a little bit or something, it immediately stops with an internal error. I don't have the feeling it will ever stop doing that. I manually moved the Lymow now back into the charging station, and you see the charging light is now on. Everything looks fine. So, poor guy, he needs a break.
The next day.
I adjusted a little bit the map now to not make the robot pass over the very steep bits and then topple over like we saw before. Let us see how it performs now, especially in terms of turning on the steep hill.
Move the robot to a different spot.
So here again we saw that the robot tried to turn around, and the problem is that I think the turning strategy here. You saw that only one of those track wheels was moving. So I think if you just would do a spin, like both wheels in a different direction, that would be better. And again, that's always annoying because I have to go into the app to clear that error manually. So I hope there will be a software fix later on. I mean, I can understand that some situations require manual interaction with the robot, of course. But so far I had one, as you saw when the robot really flipped over. Otherwise, it's just, you know, turning errors or something, not a real thing. And here as well, what is the plan? I mean, the plan is, of course, yes, as you can see, to go back. I think this whole turning procedure just feels clunky. I think there is a bit of work to do for Lymow to improve this behavior, and that, I believe very strongly, would also fix most of the slipping problems. What we can observe here is an overlap. So I set the overlap of the individual lanes now to 30 centimeters, which is a nice setting, I think. You can choose between 35 and 25, I believe. But with the higher setting, I had the feeling it does miss some parts. So this 30 centimeter settings here seems to be working quite well. Now the robot will go further up maybe, let's see. No, because here I set the end of the map actually. So this is an individual map, this small part here, to have a better testing environment. So now the Lymow is coming back. And as you can see, I'm in the way. Let's see what happens again. Will it go around? Will it? It seems that it turns around, which is actually quite nice. So this time it did not stop with an internal error. I changed nothing in the software, but here it comes again. Come on. So far, so good. So as you can see, the diagonal way of mowing might be a little bit better in terms of slipping errors for the robot, but I will say I just not filmed 2 of those. It's just hopeless if it turns at a steep angle like this, as you can see here. It was just completely confused and essentially dug up a little bit of ground there. Now this is really not a problem for me if it digs up some ground. I just needed to mow reliably. Let's watch what happens here, because this is also a difficult turn, I think. It's again difficult to see the actual angle of the slope, which is like this. That did it well. Now let's see, it's another turn coming up. It's not that steep, but here we go. So here we see this turning strategy with one of those chains.
The robot to a different spot.
And it just doesn't have enough grip this way. It needs to use both chains or try to drive a curve and not turn. I don't know, really, I think this is a little bit of trial and error. Lymow, I'm happy to test that for you, but this needs to be fixed. So again, I have to move to the app to clear that error manually. So if the robot works, it does a very good job. And again, I believe it's absolutely terrain worthy. The slipping errors here and the situations where it gets stuck, they are homemade because the traction strategy is not good. So I think this is a software issue. My verdict about this machine stays the same. It is the only one on the market that can handle terrain like mine. And if there's not an internal error all the time, it does it very well, as you can see. So I adjusted a little bit the ramp for the charging station. I put some stones in the front, as you can see. It's not finished, I would say, but I just want to see if it helps with the docking procedure. So the robot should not come up as much as before when it enters the station. Or maybe it does. Let's see. Adjusting. It worked.
Charging started.
So this looks better for now. I'm not convinced it's 100%, yes, but at least the robot can dock itself again. One last thing I would like to show you is the noise levels. Some of you might have noticed that the mower became considerably less noisy. That's because I changed the rotational speed of the blades from 4000 RPM to 3000 RPM. And the difference is quite significant, but I would like to show you all the settings it has, one after the other now. For this, I can use the app actually to adjust the speed while it's standing over there. Now I set the mower to 3000 RPM and I'm about 3.5 meters away from the robot, and this is the noise level. That's really nice. That doesn't disturb my neighbors. That's really cool. Let me change to 4000. This is significantly louder, and also there's this beeping, high-pitched noise now coming from the rotational speed of the blades. So this, I'm not so sure about my neighbors. There's one more. 5000. noise. Again, all that noise a little bit amplified. I actually expected it to be worse, but you might notice that I have to raise my voice now to speak over the noise levels of the robot. But there is a maximum setting. I'm not sure it will do anything in this case, but let's find out. Max. Now that's the same like the 5000 RPM. Maybe there's more torque than sent to the blades. This I don't know. I have to say that for normal mowing exercises, the 3000 RPM for me look completely sufficient. Also, you can have to keep in mind that you can reduce the moving speed of the robot. So my moving speed now is set to 0.4 meters per second, and I cut with the lowest speed of 3000 RPMs. For me, and for the cutting quality I'm looking for, this is absolutely sufficient. My problem with this machine is now it stopped for some reason. My big problem with this machine is the turns when it's on a steep incline. This has to be fixed, otherwise it's essentially useless for me, which would be a shame, because from an engineering standpoint this thing can do it 100%. It just needs software tweaking. So let's see what develops in the coming weeks. It's getting quite cold here, it's getting winter, so we don't have much time left. And this is it. Thanks for watching Fee's Tool Time, and see you next time when we have much more fun stuff to do. Bye bye.